our next session entitled Helping Struggling Readers with New EdTech Solutions. It will be presented by Dr. Duriya Aziz, who is the Senior Vice President and Publisher at Scholastic International, which is the world's largest children's books publisher and distributor. Dr. Duriya is responsible for the development and implementation of education programs, both digital and blended, to support learners in diverse learning contexts. She is also an English language and literature learning specialist by training. Over to you, Dr. Duriya.
Hello, good day. I'm Dr. Duriya Aziz, Senior Vice President and Publisher at Scholastic International, and it's my pleasure today to talk about a topic that is very, very close to our heart at Scholastic, helping children, all children, succeed in reading. So my topic today is supporting struggling readers using technology. And we've identified two children, Mike and Christy, who are really struggling in their reading. And I want to show you how we can use technology to help them become fluent readers. Why is reading important? We all know that literacy, which is essentially reading comprehension, is very, very important in order for success in school, as well as in the future in careers. And why is this the case? Simply put, it's because reading makes us smart. Reading ability impacts all areas of academic achievement because reading is really reading comprehension. And that underpins all subject areas, learning in all subject areas, whether it is math or science or social studies, you have to comprehend what you're reading. Strong readers, for this reason, have higher content knowledge and perform better in school because they read widely, they understand the topics better that they're studying in other subject areas, and so they do better in school. And this creates a virtuous cycle. Focused reading instruction also leads to higher student achievement and at the same time, exposure to reading, providing children with enough books of an appropriate level maximizes skills development. So today, what we're going to do is look at the performance of students at particular levels. This is primary 3 and primary 4 of a particular education system. We created benchmarks for them with the help of mathematics to understand what is an appropriate reading level for these children at each level in primary school. And what we found as we studied the performance of students, this is about 500 students each in grade 4 and grade 3, and we found that almost 60% of students in grade 3 were reading at basic and below basic requirements for their grade level. So nearly 40% of children reading below the required level of proficiency. That means they couldn't actually even read well enough to be able to understand the content in their textbooks. In grade 4, while the situation improved slightly, it was still quite serious. You have about 55% of children reading at basic and below basic. The good thing, of course, is that fewer children are in below basic. So we can see even between grade 3 and grade 4, there's been progress, right? That in grade 3, 39% of students were in below basic. In grade 4, this number has reduced to 31%. And then in the basic tier, of course, you have 21% in grade 3, 24% in grade 4. Likewise, proficiency has also moved up. In the proficient level, in grade 3, you have 28. In grade 4, you have 34. This obviously is a very good indicator that even as the children are moving up the levels, they are improving in their reading ability. For the purpose of our presentation today, we are interested in two children, but we will start with Linda first, who is reading very well. In October 2020, her reading level was 778 Lexile, which puts her at an advanced level for primary 4. And as you can see, if you follow the blue line, she has shown steady progress all the way from October 2017, when we first started mapping her reading ability, her reading level, to date, she has made very, very good progress. And then we have Jimmy. So Jimmy is at a proficient level. He scored 669 Lexile in October 2020. So this puts him at the proficient level. So both Linda and Jimmy would do well in school because they are able to cope with the comprehension requirements at their level. On the other hand, we have Christy, who is reading at 364 Lexile. Now, if you look at the black box on the benchmarks, 364 Lexile is actually falls within the basic level for grade 4. So it's not below basic, it's basic, but it still means that reading would be a stretch and a struggle for Christy. And if you follow the gray line, you can see that even when she started at a lower level, and she has been struggling to catch up ever since. So the fact that she has started at a lower level and continued to not do so well, and then the trajectory has slowed down, which means that she continues to struggle. You have Mike in the yellow, who has scored 219 Lexile, which puts him at below basic. 219 Lexile actually is at a basic level for primary 1. That's the basic level benchmark for primary 1. So what it means is Mike is actually in primary 4, but his reading ability is suited to a primary 1, barely suited to a primary 1 child. So you can imagine how serious the situation is for children like Mike and Christy. If they are reading at primary 1 level in primary 4, that means they're reading 3 levels behind. They're 3 years behind in their reading. And they have so much of catching up to do. Not only do they have to catch up on the reading, but they have to continue to read. So they have to, if they were cycling, they have to cycle fast to catch up with the rest of the kids, and they have to continue to cycle at an increasingly faster pace in order to keep up with the requirements of reading. This is how serious the situation is for struggling readers. And this is something that sometimes we don't understand the seriousness of the situation. But measuring the reading ability of a child and following it by measuring it regularly helps us understand how this child is progressing and allows us to make good decisions about how we can change the trajectory of learning so that his profile, learning profile and success profile in school can change. What makes frequent readers? So I mentioned earlier that number of books is important. And what we found as part of research that Scholastic did is that for children aged between 6 to 11 years old, they should be reading, the frequent readers read about 43 to 44 books a year. And for older children, they are reading around 40 books. So children between 12 and 17 are reading about 40 books a year. So generally, my benchmark is 1 book a week. If kids read 1 book a week, and of course there'll be some weeks where they don't read, but on average, if you average it out, you will end up with about 40 to 45 books a year. And if kids are reading that much, it's great. Obviously, at secondary school level, the books are thicker. They may not finish it in 1 week, and you don't want them to spend every waking minute reading a book just to finish that 1 book a week, right? But children tend to be, when they are older, they tend to read a few books at the same time. You know, there might be some nonfiction book, there might be some comics, there might be some novels that they're reading. And in that way, also, they can make up with the numbers that they need to read. But this is a good number to remember. A book a week is a good indicator. The other thing that we know, what research shows us, is that when kids choose, they read. So allowing kids the ability to access books and to choose their own books increases the likelihood that they will finish reading the book. And so we need to use every tool possible to help teachers and students be even more successful in reading. And technology presents us with the opportunity and the ability to do so. Again, now this is another presentation of Christy and Mike's profile. So starting on the left-hand corner, you see that in October 2020, this is where they are on the basic and below basic benchmarks. And they have to cross the whole, across the benchmarks. They have to go through the various benchmarks in order to reach proficiency level. You can see that Mike has actually a bigger journey. He has to go all the way from below basic, across basic to get into the proficient level. If they both progress at the same level, of course, Christy will end up really being proficient, much more proficient. If she doesn't read at the same level or doesn't succeed in improving at the same level, she might end up at a lower level of proficiency, but she will reach proficiency. So that's good. But you can see my point about them having to work very hard and to continue to work hard in order to proceed, in order to progress. So Literacy Pro is a product, it's a program that by Scholastic that empowers reading success. It allows children to choose the books, first of all, to understand what their reading profile is, and gives them the opportunity to choose the books that they want to read, allows the teacher to be part of that journey and process, and in this way enables every child to succeed in reading. So it starts with assess. You assess the reading ability, you engage them by providing them the right books, and you advance them by providing the scaffold necessary to succeed. So starting with a personalized reading path for each student, today with technology, this is possible. We can understand the reading ability of each child, the reading interests of that child, and we can match appropriately. So it starts, so for Mike and Christy, for example, they would start by taking a Lit Pro test, which is a simple and quick test that accurately identifies each student's reading level. So you will be able to tell the exact reading level of each child. Following this, Mike and Christy will choose what their reading interests are. Each child's reading interests will be different, right? One child might like to read adventure stories, another one might like to read science fiction, and so on and so forth. And then finally, based on the reading level of the child, based on the interests that they have chosen, and of course, we know the age or the grade level of the child, we can create a personalized reading path recommendation, a personalized reading list, which is just right for each child, not only in terms of age appropriacy, but also in terms of difficulty level of the book and the reading interest of the child. So for example, Mike, we know that he's in grade 4, and we know that he's in the below basic level because he scored 219 Lexile on the test. He chose food and drink, friends, family, and growing up, and humor as his reading interests. So based on this, here's the recommendation for him: Brawl of the Wild, and then you have Anne of Green Gables, and of course there'll be a lot of other books as well, which will be recommended for him to read. On the other hand, you have Christy, who did 364 Lexiles on the test, and she chose Animals and Pets, Celebrations, and Science Technology. So you see two kids in the same class, same school, almost similar Lexile profile, but their reading interests are different, and therefore the books that they get are different. So Christy's got Amazing Rescues, lots to crow about, and Do Butterflies Like Turtle Tears, and so on, she will get. At the same time, the teacher can also assign the reading comprehension skills test, which tests the students on the critical reading comprehension skills that are required for children at each level. And this test will then deliver the results, pointing out the specific skills areas that each child is deficient in, so that the teacher can then provide coaching and guidance in those specific skills. And so this serves as a diagnostic analysis. And so, you can give a very targeted pill to each child. With this process, you can see how every child will get a personalized book shelf. In the words of James Patterson, there's no such thing as a kid who hates reading. There are just kids who love reading and kids who are reading the wrong books. We need to help them find the right books. So Mike and Christy, as we saw, can quickly find and choose the books that they want. There are various ways in which they can do it. Not only will you have a recommended list, you also have fast find. So all the books that are exactly matching the child's reading score will also appear. And then all the new books that have been created, that have been added to the library will also show up. We will also provide a listing of the books in the school library. So not only will this list generate the books that are available in the e-library and books in the whole universe, but will also be specific to the print books that are available in the school library. So the child can go and look for those books in the school library as well. We've talked about smart search and filters. So, if you're reading about camels or deserts in science, you can quickly go and just key in those words, or you can choose specific filters to find the books that you like. In this way, students have access to thousands of really exciting and interesting books. They are opening the doors to new worlds of discovery and adventure. Popular series such as Goosebumps and Discover More's are available within our e-library. The editors have spent a lot of time and effort in curating the books. So it's not just about just finding any texts and putting them in and calling them books, but editors at Scholastic have spent a lot of time thinking about the quality of the books, the interest level of the books, and the variety of the books, and making them, putting them together as collections within the library. And the accompanying quizzes assess the students' understanding of what they have read. In addition, the assign functionality enables the teachers to assign books in line with learning objectives. So if you are teaching something on a particular topic, you can actually assign books as further reading on that topic to your students. So as we mentioned before, filters will help Mike and Christy find the right books. Here you can see how they're using it to find books in their interest category. Teachers can assign the books to the students, and this is how it would appear on the teacher dashboard. She can see at a glance who are the students that they have assigned. So she can assign all the books. Either she can say, oh, I want to assign it to the entire class, or here's a list of, or she can select particular students that she wants to assign the books to. Mike gets his own very own personalized bookshelf. He will be able to see his reading profile, how much he's read, how many books, how many words, how much time he spent reading. He will be able to see books assigned by his teacher, and also he can keep piling the books that he likes on his bookshelf, so that when he goes there, just in the same way as when you go to your own, physical bookshelf and you find all the books that you have put there, in the same way, he will be able to find all of the books that he has selected. Now, at the same time, it is important to scaffold the reading experience for struggling readers, because it's like, just because you have given somebody a tour of an art gallery doesn't mean that they have become better at painting with each painting that they have seen. In the same way, just exposing children to more and more books doesn't make them better readers, especially struggling readers who have yet to acquire the skills of reading. And therefore, it's important to provide them with that scaffold. the experience of as if they had a guided reading teacher sitting beside them, helping them understand the reading strategies to bring to play as they read the page. So what we have done is, for selected text, we have provided the reading activities, the while reading, post-reading, pre-reading activities, so that teachers can assign these books to students, to particular students who they feel need that scaffolding, and they can have that scaffolded guided reading experience. So here you have it. The teacher can assign the books to Mike and Christy. Mike will be able to see the books that have been assigned by the teacher that have a think and read, a read and think. So this is one of those books, A Tooth is Loose. He begins to read it. Immediately you can see that as he opens the book, he reads a page and there's a think about it for him. And then this is what happens on a subsequent page. Once he finishes the book, he will be able to take a quiz. So here you have him. He can choose take the quiz, or he can start reading the book again. Start over. This is an example of a quiz question. And here you see he got about 6 out of 10 right. Another thing that we have included in the program is interactive read alouds. So we know that interactive read alouds are the best way to improve reading skills, because through an interactive read aloud, the teacher models what good reading behavior is. To make this easier, we have pre-selected books for teachers, 150 pre-selected titles across 10 themes, across the levels, and we have made available downloadable lesson plans and worksheets for each of these books, so that you can, whether it is a remote class or it is on-site, you can present the book on screen and use the lesson plans to conduct an exciting, engaging read aloud lesson. And after that, you could even, as a class, do the quiz. So here's an example of a page. You could have a question that will show up, and you can hide or reveal the answers as you wish. At the same time, there's a lot of in-program support with features like the vocabulary, definitions that are provided through the clickable dictionary. There's audio support, so kids can listen to the text. You can record and email the text to the teacher, so that the teacher can check for reading fluency and pronunciation. And at the same time, you can email back and forth between teacher and student to communicate about the books. There's a lot of certificates and points that are awarded to celebrate reading success or reading progress, really. And this is important to keep kids motivated in reading. As a child is reading, the great thing about technology is its ability to collect data. But this data is only useful if it is actionable, right? So only if you're going to take some action based on the data is it useful. Otherwise, why bother to collect data? And yet teachers are so busy. Where do they have the time to think about what does this mean? So what we have done instead is taken the data, thought about and discussed with a lot of teachers how they would like to use the data, and created insightful reports and alerts for the teachers. So this is a dashboard, a teacher dashboard. You can look at it at the level of the whole teacher, at the level of the whole class, or you can drill down to the level of each student. But even more importantly, we provide you with alerts. So instead of having to look at the report every time, teachers are mostly interested in kids who are struggling, as they should be. So these alert reports point out to the teacher particular behaviors that the teacher should look out for in students. So in this case, for example, Mike has not been very successful in passing the quizzes and so on. And so this is alerting the teacher that she needs to take some action. The year-on-year report shows the profile of the child as he progresses. So you can see how the student is performing, not just in terms of Lexiles, but also in terms of the quiz pass rate and the books that he is reading. And obviously, if he is supposed to make progress, all of these indicators should be progressing. They should be going up north. At the same time, the children have their own dashboard. They can monitor their own success and progress. And this is something that they can get quite competitive about with their own selves. So they always want, once they have an understanding of what a Lexile means, they want to keep checking as to have they improved, how can they read more books, and so on and so forth. So in this way, both Mike and Christy can change their reading trajectory and get on the path of reading success. Our recommendation for them would be to read at least a book a week on Literacy Pro, for the teacher to assign them books with Think and Read, and to provide skill-based practice based on the results of the comprehension skills test, and if possible, to conduct interactive read-alouds in class. We are confident that with this, both Christy and Mike will soon be on the way to reading success. Thank you.
Thank you once again for your time. We hope that Dr. Duriya's sharing will be a helpful tool for your school's effort in growing successful readers. At Scholastic Asia, we believe reading is transformational, and good reading habits that are cultivated from young age can lead to a successful future. To champion this cause, we collaborated with the Ministry of Education in Malaysia from 2008 to 2013 and co-organized Malaysia's largest reading event, One Nation Read Together. Over the course of those 6 years, we saw over 6 million students participate in this nationwide reading campaign. So this year, we are continuing our efforts to reignite a nationwide passion for reading. In this new norm, we are excited to launch the Reading Champ Award 2021 in this virtual space. Therefore, we invite all schools across Malaysia to participate in this reading challenge by signing up and encouraging your students to read. You may scan the QR code on screen for more information. We hope that through your participation, we can fulfill our mission statement in making reading a transformational experience in a child's life, and that this initiative will inspire and groom the next generation of passionate readers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Duriya, for an enlightening talk. And it's definitely useful to actually know what are some of the tools that can be used by teachers to actually help our readers to actually be more proficient without putting age at risk or anything like that. So that's really good. So David, if I'm not mistaken, you actually do have some questions from our audience for Dr. Duriya. David, you there? Hi, David.
Hi, sorry. Anyway, I think
It's
something
okay.
hang anyway. My apologies.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay. My apologies. Anyway, hello, Dr. Duriya.
Hi there.
Wonderful. Anyway, I was looking at the chats and on the Facebook and the rest of it. Everybody is so excited when we presented this Scholastic, and I can imagine all of the teachers and parents, or those who are tuning in. Their eyes all light up anyway. Really say, oh my God, this is the solution. I've been waiting for this for so long and such like that, in this area. In fact, looking at today's modern world, a lot of children, and I like your quote from Mr. Patterson, you got to find the right book for the children, to read, or else, if you give any other books, or which is not according to their level, they won't read it, and they won't find that interest in that manner itself. So yeah, so that's a very inspiring anyway, basically, very inspiring. I would like to pick up some questions for you anyway, Dr. Duriya. Okay, the one question is here. It says, any recommendations implementations, tips to share for teachers in encouraging students to read effectively, especially struggling readers in a remote setting. Okay, whatever school shut down due to the COVID, and all this and that. How do you think that could help anyway in this situation?
Yeah, I think as we know so well that COVID has really disrupted the education of our children, and it is so very, very important that we stem the learning loss, and particularly for reading, because reading, as I mentioned during my presentation, it underpins all of learning. So, children, struggling readers who are already behind in their reading ability, I can only imagine that they have, they're really struggling even more now, unless some efforts are being made to help them catch up. Otherwise, when they come back to school full time, they will really have a hard time keeping up. So I guess there's a few things that can be done. And as always, I would like to start with what is easily available. So what are assumptions that you can make about reading materials that kids have at their disposal? If teachers know what books the children have at home, or if they, you can even start with the newspaper, and it doesn't even have to be an English newspaper. It's whatever is the daily newspaper. If the teachers could encourage children to start reading the newspaper, and it's a very simple way of doing this, is if when you have class, you just pick up the newspaper and point out one thing that would be of interest to the children, or make it a habit of children bringing the newspaper to the class if you're conducting a Zoom or Teams or Google Meet class. And for them to talk about one thing that is of interest to them. It could even be an advertisement. It could be about a sale that they're having or whatever it is. But it just gets them in touch with reading. And that is a very, very important first step. And then the second thing that I would point out, of course, is the easy availability of technology today that helps you to continue to evaluate the students' reading level and to track it. So you know where each child is, and you can, as a teacher, really assign books that are appropriate to the child. It is so important. You cannot assume that all grade 3 children would be reading at the same level or would be interested in reading the same books. In the same way that you wouldn't be ordering all grade 3 children to wear shoes of the same size, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, so we can use technology today to, and particularly Lit Pro itself makes it so easy for teachers to customize that bookshelf for each child and to monitor the reading progress.
Yeah, true anyway. I truly agree with you anyway. There's another next question. It says here, this is also very important. Of course, you talk about teachers itself, but of course, parents also must be involved in this. So here's this question: how can we keep parents involved to promote reading at home? At this current situation itself.
So the pandemic has played, has kind of put a spotlight on parents. Parents have always had an important role in their child's life, obviously. But I think, as the education systems developed and became more sophisticated, probably parents took more of a back seat and left the formal learning in the very capable hands of teachers. But now the ball is probably back in their court with kids really learning from home, and parents have become the enablers of learning for their children, not just in terms of providing access through devices, but also they've become more engaged in that whole learning process. They've had to be. So I think there's a few ways in which they can encourage children to learn. One is by being good role models. So children who will see their parents reading will want to read as well. And the second thing, of course, is reading with their children. So Scholastic conducts a survey. It's an international survey called the Kids and Family Reading Report, where we talk to parents and we talk to kids about their reading habits. And what we found is that kids really love their parents reading aloud to them. In fact, kids said that they wish their parents would continue to read to them even after they had learned how to read by themselves, because they felt that it was such a special time to bond with their parents. And this is something that academic research has also shown that kids who have been read to as children actually perform better in school in later life, because they have such a good mental model of the whole reading experience. So that's the other point that I would make in what parents can do. And then thirdly, what I would point out, and something that I didn't mention during the presentation, is that LitPro actually has a parent zone. So when you log in, when the child logs in, the parent also is able to log in and go into a dedicated page, a parent zone page, where the teacher is shown, the parent is shown how their child is performing, and what the parent can do to specifically help their child improve in reading. So those would be my recommendations.
Okay, David, I think for the moment, those are the two questions that we have time to actually ask Dr. Duriya about. But that's actually really great. So thank you so much, Dr. Duriya, for the presentation and for your questions. And we hope that this will actually get more parents involved, more teachers looking at reading as something that is crucial and essential as well. So educators out there, explore and make reading interesting again to our kids today. Thank you so much, Dr. Duriya.